Hey guys, this is Jaden with the Blue Collar Future podcast. I've got Jacob Moss here with me. He is a contractor in Arizona, and we're going to talk to him.
How's it going?
So, hey Jake, how are you?
Good. How about yourself, Jaden?
Pretty good, pretty good. Another day.
Yeah, another day. Thanks for having
Yeah,
me on.
yeah,
Excited to be on.
yeah. We've connected over Instagram and through the den and stuff, but not, you know, hadn't had a call yet. So it was good.
Yeah.
Good.
Wow. So
So
good.
yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and the such.
Yeah. So I'm a general contractor down in Arizona. I do both residential and commercial projects. I've been in the construction industry my whole life. I started out as a laborer my dad was in construction. I was the gopher. I did it all. I rode in the tractors and had fun. So over the years, I've just been around it. I've loved building. I've loved seeing projects happen. I like seeing the joy that people get out of a completed project. And so I'm here to help other people do that. And it's just construction's kind of my passion. And so now I focus on remodels, new custom homes, small and medium commercial jobs. I have a background in all of that.
Awesome, awesome. There's a trend where most of the people in the trades right now are, family members have been in, or they work for family. It's the same with me. I work for my dad as well.
Yeah.
It's a little unfortunate because there's a whole bunch of people that are going to be retiring soon, and there's not a whole lot of people to replace them.
Yeah, it's most people aren't choosing to join the trades right now. Like you said, it's just kind of generational. So it's hopefully people like you and I can change that. So it's not a crazy time.
Exactly. I mean, they're such good jobs, and you know, there's a lot of job security. They're not going to be replaced by, technology anytime soon. There may be automations and integrations with technology and to help running your business, but it's
Yeah.
within the foreseeable future, they're not going anywhere. So that's my goal here is to kind of bring awareness and talk about what's to come. So what are you got planned for this year? I saw you've got some big plans after a mastermind you went to recently.
Yep. Yeah, I've got so my goal this year is to help as many people as possible. Um, I've got a pretty high revenue goal for myself. Um, but I mostly just I want to see what they can do. I really want to get into kind of a medium-sized commercial job. I want to do that this year, and I'm really close to closing a pretty big one. Um, because my goal is $3 million this year, and that's what I want to do in revenue as in my general construction business. And to do that, I'm going to be hiring people. I've got some interviews lined up, or project manager that I'm looking to hire because I can't do it all myself. I can't run 10 different projects all at once. That's not possible. So I'm looking forward to growing into helping other people explore options into the trade because I've set myself to have high goals. It's going to allow me to hire more people that can kind of expand and continue on the construction industry.
For sure, for sure. How have you set aside some goals to get to that number? You have a certain amount of projects? Do you have a certain amount of outreach that you're doing every day? Have you broken that down to a
Yeah.
daily?
So I have one daily question that I ask myself: did I fill the pipeline today? That's my nightly question. If I go home and I can say yes, I filled my pipeline, then it's a successful day. And that's even putting out feelers. That's putting my name out there to other people, like engaging potential customers. And I do that through a number of mediums. I advertise in a magazine. For homeowners, for remodels and construction and commercial construction. I'm all on Facebook all the time. I don't kind of casually scroll anymore. I literally pick up my phone. If I catch myself scrolling for more than, say 30 seconds without doing something productive or seeing something productive, I turn it down. And so then I go do something else so I can put myself out there. And like I said, I'm working with a media team right now. I've got my logo behind me. I'm in an awesome space to get more content so people can know who I am, because I believe that I can help many people, and I can, really reach my goals through that.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that getting yourself out there is a huge thing that not a lot of people are willing to do.
Yep.
And it's uncomfortable. Sean always talks about how, getting in front of doing this, talking into a camera is one of the hardest things, for a lot of people to do, and it is. It is. I've had myself doing some video challenges online and stuff. There's super massive benefits coming from them, but such a hard thing to do in the moment.
Yeah, it is. It's scary to put yourself out there, but you have to.
Hmm. You can't expand if you don't expand. That's
Exactly.
that is something that is reoccurring. A lot of things that a lot of what holds a lot of contractors back. I know you said that you're planning on hiring people to help you get to your goal, and that's something that a lot of contractors don't want to do. A lot of you know people that are running a business and working in their business don't want to hire people to replace themselves. There's a pretty big uncertainty around that, and that's another hard thing to do. To step back so that you can to grow.
Yeah, no, trust me, it's hard. I don't. It's scary, honestly. I'm scared to hire somebody because it forces me to do other things. Because if I hire somebody who's taking care of X, Y, and Z, now I have to think, okay, what am I going to do? So it's puts more pressure on me. Not necessarily there's more pressure on this person. It's just more pressure on me. And it took me a while to get over that. It took me a while to come to terms that I need to hire somebody. But um, when I say I have two jobs, it's an hour away, I can't take care of both of them. It's impossible, because it's karma, life. If something goes wrong here, something's going to go wrong there. So you just got to be prepared for it.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah, that freeing up time to handle the more important things. Almost, I don't want to say more important things, but handle what needs to be done as a business owner.
Yep.
Getting out there, especially, and putting yourself out there. Because if you're on the job all the time, you can be taking pictures and videos and whatever, post them on social media, but you can't be out talking to people, furthering your
Yep.
brand and your awareness. And you can't be looking at jobs. You're going to be out work looking at jobs at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, when you could be doing that during the day.
Yep. And that's, with a family and a young kid at home, it's a big challenge. It's a big challenge to get everything done and to be the dad, be the husband who I want to be in all that. And so, being forced to do something uncomfortable is actually going to provide more comfort, because it's not that I don't want to hire. It's just I'm comfortable. I can do it right now, but I've also done the same amount, the same work year after year, because I haven't changed. So it's time to break out of the comfort and expand a little bit to grow.
Yep. Yeah, no, exactly. The We'll touch on the wife and your and kid real quick. You have a how many kids? One?
I have one kid, a son.
That's another, time management hurdle that a lot of people in these types of jobs don't get right. And I think that's one thing that is pushing a lot of kids away, because they're like, "Oh yeah, my dad, was, in an intensive job and never spent time with me. Um,
Yep.
how are you kind of looking to prevent that? I mean, we touched on that a little bit, but kind of expand on that.
Yeah, and so it's I've really set my priorities straight. It's more so like me and my wife, we have a schedule worked out, and that works for both of us. And so I get some time in the morning where I can be home with my son, while she takes care of some things, and then if some days I'm home, working from home to my office or doing some phone calls, and I just kind of leave for a second. But then other days I'm gone all day. And so it's just the priorities. It's open communication, and I think that's what is most important. Is that when I'm home, I my phone goes on do not disturb. I leave it in the other room. I'm home for the day. Well, at least until my kid goes to bed, and then I may have some things to figure out. But my wife does her own thing. But it's one of those things that that's how I want to change how I grew up. Um, my dad was a workaholic, which is not nothing wrong with that. That's just it's how that generation is and was. They bleed, eat, sleep, and work. Um, and I want to be around. I want that. So I think that's just my number one priority, which pushes me to be more efficient throughout the day, and it allows me to get more done in less time because I know what I'm working towards. I know what I'm working for, and that's to ultimately have time with my wife and kids.
Yeah, and that allows you to really catch yourself when you're scrolling on the phone too,
Yep.
because that
Yeah.
throughout the day, even if we're on a time crunch, the mindless scrolling is so easy to just turn from, you know, 5 minutes to an hour, and then
Yep.
oh crap, we what have we done? Where's the day
Yeah.
gone?
Yep. Yeah.
And that's another thing towards the end of the day, even you don't want to be doing that, mindlessly scrolling through your phone when you've got, your family around.
yeah.
And
No.
mm,
Exactly. So.
yeah, and that's something I struggle with. I mean, with all of the things all the responsibilities that you have, towards the end of the day, I mean, you're like, okay, I'm gonna, message all these people. I got to do all this outreach, and you're home, and everybody around you doesn't get to interact with you because you're trying to be out online.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so yeah, that's something that I've noticed and that I think a lot of people could do a lot better with. But if you don't have the time to do that during the day, to do, your outreach, your paperwork, your other business work during the day, that bleeds into the afternoon. So a lot of people kind of need to look at what their trade off is, not being able to spend time with kids because they got to be focusing on the business.
Yeah. And I think oftentimes what it comes down to is just communication. And I think if you have if you're married, if you have kids, it's just having that communication with them. Say, hey, I didn't get enough done today. I need an hour or two, and just say, hey, and then I'll be here. And then be honest to your word. If you say you're going to need, hey, I'm going to be done at this time, and then we can go do something, just do it, because it's that unset expectation that, oh, I'm supposed to get this all done, and then all of a sudden be present, and then when you feel guilty for working at home or not spending time, it's just have that communication. And I think if that's something that happens, it's worked for me really well. Just, hey honey, I need an hour tonight after he goes to bed just to finish some stuff, because I won't sleep, and then the whole rest of the day is shot and to crap. So I
Yeah.
think that's something to just open communication.
Yeah. Well, I mean, communication, and then like, as we've touched on already, getting what you need done during the day so that you can be present. A lot
Yeah.
of times stresses throughout the day, or, projects that we maybe needed to get done but didn't, sit in the back of your mind, and then you're also not present that way.
Right.
Like, sitting back thinking, oh, well, man, I need to do this and this and this tomorrow. But being on top of that during the day is super important. Um, yeah, that's something I see a lot of guys do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what got you like started into the mastermind stuff? That was a question I had that slipped my mind just barely. What got you into doing all this, the mastermind personal development things?
So I was just, there's kind of an old saying. A lot of people say you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, but it was more than that. I was looking for almost permission to find what was in myself to go out and do more. I shared my story, at Lions Den Live, and I shared it a couple times. I had a bad deal happen to me. I lost a good amount of money from a guy I was doing work for. He took it and ran. Um, sadly, I own it because I didn't take 10 minutes and spend $30 on a 20-day pre-lien. So that was a lesson learned. I lost 300 grand for not spending 20. But so spend the money.
Yeah.
um, and so I was in a deep hole. I was in a dark place and went through some hard times, and and I was looking for just a way to climb out, just a way to get back. And I was like, I'm gonna find someone who can teach me that, who's come back, done these different things. And I've been read the books, I've done 75 hard. Um, but really it wasn't until, I joined my first group, mastermind group, which was Rob Bailey's group. And I was in that for a little bit. And then I was joined the Lions Den with Sean. And that's when things just kind of started clicking. A lot of, what he said and the way he talked was just things that I needed to hear, that I knew was in myself. And then it allowed me to grow and to get out of that. Um, and if you're not around people who are constantly trying to improve, you're just going to stay where you're at. And that's just a basic fact. And at the time, didn't have people who were really trying to improve themselves around me. So it made it harder. So I was just looking for the connection, for networks, for, you know, people that I could say, hey, how did you do that? Because, a lot of people our age are in the trades because it's generational. So if they look to their, their parents or their grandparents who were, hey, how do you do this in business? They're going to tell you, oh no, you don't need to do that. You don't need to do this. Just put your head down and work. And I think that's one thing that is kind of sad, so is, it's how I was. But I also knew that there's other people that do it. There's not one way. So if you learn from other people and do that, that's kind of how you can grow. So that kind of just led me to, excuse me, the mastermind groups, the coaching groups, the things to really get better, because we all have greatness inside of us, but I think we cover it up with lies and things that aren't true. So you need someone to call you out on it, because you're not going to call yourself out on it. And I
Mm.
think that's kind of what I was looking for, someone to call me out on my crap, um, to really, just get better.
Yeah. No, that's super important. The stories we tell ourselves run deep, the things the things that we believe aren't always actually true, even if people aren't directly telling us. It's byproducts of what we learned our whole life. You
Yep.
know, it's stuff like that that really makes it hard to succeed. Um, but yeah. So what have you done that has been kind of actionable to climb out of, the hole that you got in? Because that's something that I've seen a lot of people have happen to them, and they just get bitter, super bitter, and that it's a really hard place to then turn around and say, okay, I need someone to help me.
Yeah. Um, how did I? So I think first off, I owned it. That was
Yeah.
the number one. When I stopped placing the blame on, oh, he took the money from me, blah, blah, blah. Nothing. No, when I tell that story, it's, I own it because I didn't take 10 minutes to fill out a form online.
Mhm.
So, I can't be mad at anyone but myself. And I think that was the first thing that I did, to avoid the continued bitterness, to avoid the oh woe is me mentality. Um, and from there, things just kind of progressed. Because when you can take accountability for something you've done, it allows for more good things to flow, and you can just continue to progress and build. I think definitely hiring coaches, paying people to do things that I'm not good at, that you know that takes time, that I would stress about for no reason, when I can go pay somebody. I think bookkeeping. I hate bookkeeping. And so I finally outsourced that to someone that I trust, and I have so much more time. And so now I have more time that time that I would spend doing that, I can actually focus on myself to continue to build and to get out of that. So I don't revert back to the bitterness, revert back to where I was. So I think those are the kind of the two biggest things. Was I owned it, and hired people to alleviate some of the stress that I had.
Mhm. I think it's really easy to play the blame game, and you see it a lot in, well, really everywhere, because there's not much accountability going around.
Yeah.
Um, extreme ownership, as Jocko likes to say, it's not very common. It,
No.
it's not something that people look at and they're like, they might look at it and be like, oh yeah, that sounds cool, but when it comes down to it, you know, it's really hard to say, oh yeah, I could have done better there. That's
Yeah.
even day to day on jobs. If something goes wrong, the accountability almost needs to be from the ground up. So that kind of comes with building a culture in your company that is okay. We can do better. We can do better the next time. So do you? Ryan Stewman talks a lot about having core values.
Yeah.
Um, Yep. Do you have core values in place in your company? Is that something that?
They're not official. It's something that I'm working on. But I hold core values in myself, but they're not actually like, because right now I am my company. I am M2 Industries, but that's something that's going to change. And so that's why when I look for people, I can just, I feel that they hold my core values, and I can just kind of tell when you meet somebody. But it's definitely just, I believe in just being honest, being very open and talking with each individual client, and just telling the truth. I think that's kind of the biggest things is, if you can't do something, just say you can't do it. And because it takes people way too long to admit that they're wrong.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, I'm guilty of it. You don't want to scare someone off or turn someone away, but just say, hey, no, I can't do it right now. There's nothing wrong with that. I want people to be honest, and I think that's just what I try to emulate as well.
That learning how to say no is a huge thing.
Yeah.
We want to be able to take everything on that we can. Give me all this, but if an opportunity isn't right, or if you aren't up to the level yet, I mean, I think there's a point where you can take on jobs that maybe you're not ready for. But if you flat out can't do something, it's really hard to say you can and then you know
Yeah.
pull through and not have some sort of problem somewhere. You know,
Right.
either either on your end with money, on their end with satisfaction of the job done, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. No, there's, like you said, you know, can't do something, not ready. Not ready is a mentality. Can't is limitations. So I think that's exactly what you said. Oh well.
Um, I want to touch on real quick on your hiring right now.
Okay.
You said I've seen you posting that you're hiring, and you said you have a couple of interviews.
Mhm.
How's that gone for you? Because I know there's a lot of complaints. I mean, you hear it every day. It's that, oh man, I can't ever find anybody good. Can't find no good help. Like that's like a almost a running joke now. So how have you taken that and kind of handled your hiring process that way?
So I mean, yeah, the only thing I've done saying I'm hiring is I put a video out on my social media, and just said, hey, I'm looking for somebody, looking to hire somebody by the end of quarter 1. If you want to learn construction or if you know construction, I'd love to talk. And I've just had people who've been following me for a little bit just say, hey, I mean, I'd love to learn a little bit more about it. Um, or I have some friends who are in the construction industry, but maybe just aren't happy where they're at. Um, so I've talked to a few people, um, and I think it's a lot of where a lot of people are at is they are unhappy in their current position due to external circumstances, but oftentimes the money or the comfort that it provides is why they're sticking it out. And so if they're looking for something, that's kind of what they're doing. They're looking to be more fulfilled. Um, like I had a guy, he made over 6 figures, want to interview with me, and I said, man, hey, I think you should stay. Like, stay where you're at. And I told him this is because you've learned to grow. Um, and he just, was unfulfilled. But I think it's, I'm not the responsibility of someone to fulfill themselves. And so I think that's what I've come to see is that people want to come over because they're looking for something to be fulfilled when it's really, I think people are missing something in themselves. And I think that's what tends to be a trend. Is that why there's no good help? Because people can't acknowledge that, hey, maybe I'm not cut out for this, or maybe I'm doing this for X reason. So they're just going to jump. They're going to be, just lost the word. They're going to be late. They're going to be, scatterbrained because they're not necessarily like, they're not owning it. They're not finding that true fulfillment, and they're not acknowledging it in themselves. Um, and I think for me, it's been an interesting role to see who's wanted to come work with me, and who's referred people to me, because they think it might be a good fit. Sadly, some people just got laid off from other jobs because the market, production builders laid off like I think 20% of their staff here in Arizona. A big, big production builder just laid off 20% of their staff. Um, so there's if you look hard enough, you can find the right people because 20% layoff from a production builder, there's good people there. There's good people, and so I think there's just more opportunities that I mean that's why I haven't pulled the trigger on anything yet because there's still opportunities to find the right person.
Yeah, well, not being in a rush and not wanting to take on, every single person that comes along is important.
Yeah.
Um, Something I caught there, you're doing it on your social media and with people that have been following you and that know and trust you. That's a big thing. Like if nobody knows who you are and you just throw an ad out there, you're not going to be able to pull in anybody halfway decent,
Right. Yep.
But
That's why I know
it,
if they follow me, we share some of the same core values. We share some of the same, the things that are important, and those are the best type of people to work with. It's, I think Aaron Wagner says it. He's like, if you could go back 10 years and find out about Bitcoin, would you go tell all the rich people or would you go tell your best buddies? You're gonna go tell your best friends because you want people to succeed who you like. And I think that's what it comes down to is you got to vibe with somebody. And I think that, building the credibility through social media is the way to do that. And kind of like what you were saying.
mm-hmm. And then that circles back to being uncomfortable because we don't want all these people to see everything about us and get out there and get online even though the benefits are huge. They're huge, and that's something that for me as a business owner and really in my personal development journey that I've noticed all across the board of just being uncomfortable. you know that's that is usually my biggest advice to people is just I if you feel uncomfortable with it, it's probably going to help you, most likely. I mean, that's kind of a blanket statement, but getting out of that comfort zone is where the growth happens, and it's
Yeah.
where, you know, yeah, like you say, like growing, that's where it all happens.
Yeah,
Where it
it's
all
like the best opportunities come from saying yes to other opportunities. If someone presents something with you, it's like, just say yes because you don't know what's going to happen. Um, I put an ad in a magazine, which I thought no one's going to look for a contractor in a magazine. But everyone throws those away.
Mhm.
And from that magazine, it's an X amount a month, ad spend. I'm a large commercial job that I'm bidding out of it, and then a couple homeowners. So saying yes and putting myself out there allows for more growth. So this is kind
Mhm.
of a witness to what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's why we actually have a magazine type ad for our website business too. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things that at first I was like, there's no way that's gonna be worth it. But it's doing stuff like that really, like, hiring people like you said, that to take over time, putting out on social media, ads on in magazines. It's a lot of these things that we're like, there's no way that works. But then that comes back to the stories that we're telling ourselves. You know,
Yep.
maybe what you heard growing up isn't really the right thing. Um, there's a there's a lot of that going around with trade work, just because there's such a stigma on what it's like to be in trades.
Yep.
And my whole life I've been told to get out of it, so it's a lot of where I'm trying now to bring people in. It's kind of hard to rewrite all those stories that people have been told. Oh, I don't want to do that, that's for somebody else. I'm going to go to
Yep.
school and waste $50,000 on an arts degree and whatever else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, it was all through, hey, you're too smart to be in the trades. That was what I was told growing up. And I say, I know some pretty smart people who work in construction. You kind of have to be. You have to kind of have to be pretty smart to work in the trades. It's not just your whatever people.
Well, I think it comes down to, you can be successful in anything. Just gotta put your whole, you put everything into it, and it just adds a whole nother level of difficulty to being in the trades, because so many people are like, well, I don't want to do that. That's too hard. There's no money, quote
Yeah,
unquote, no money in it. It's not worth it. Any of that type of stuff. Funny enough,
that's
most
why.
very wealthy people I know are in some sort of trade. So,
Yep.
money,
Yeah.
money works.
Yeah. It does. And people are scared of hard work. That's
Yeah.
what it comes down to. No one wants to be, you do concrete. No one wants to be at a concrete pour at 2 in the morning. I
No.
mean, no one does. But you have to. It's just work. It's life.
Yep. Nobody wants to get up early at any time really and get outside and work, and especially when it's 15 degrees outside and the sun's not up or just barely coming up. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah.
But the satisfaction of seeing the job done is, in my mind, worth it. And then being outside, and there's so many unspoken benefits that people kind of don't look at, just because been pushed away.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yep. So, my whole goal is to be pushing people towards the trades, try to bring about some more education towards them, because I've been talking to some people, and trade schools are kind of dying out a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, they're but I there's a silver lining here, because I talked to a guy on a podcast episode last week, who actually said that he went to a trade school for like high school where he's at.
Really?
Yeah. So it's that kind of stuff that's going to make all the difference in, getting people started younger. Not just because, oh yeah, that's my parents do, so my dad does, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely cool. There's a school here that just opened up that has a construction, a trades program in high school. So I think it's definitely a needed thing
Hmm.
because you know, as the generation gets older, the kids aren't in the construction because our generation isn't doing it. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it will be. Will be. Well, it's been nice talking to you, man. I'm glad we could sit down and do this. Where can people go to find more about you and your company?
So you can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is Jake Moss the Builder, and my company is M2 Industries LLC. You can my website M2 Industries, and if you're in Arizona and you're watching it, you need construction work, you can give me a call. My number is 602-529-0493.
Sweet. Nice. Well, it was nice
Yeah.
to have you on. Looking forward to what you do this year. So
Yeah, no, thanks, Jaden. Appreciate it. And if I can support you in any way, please let me know.
awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
See you, man.